Greetings and welcome to our series of weekly devotionals. This week we're taking a look at the epistle reading in the lectionary, a letter that Paul, the Apostle Paul, writes to Timothy, 1 Timothy chapter 6, dealing with some lessons that Paul imparts upon Timothy that from the perspective of a parent to a child, and maybe reminding us of some childhood lessons that we received or gave to our kids as they were growing up. I know with my kids, one of the things that has definitely been a challenge is getting them to eat certain foods. You know, some of my kids will not touch anything green. It's like vegetables have the black plague or something. They just will not eat healthy foods. And all of my kids, from time to time have complained about the food on their plate. And I've said often to them something to the effect of, guys, there are kids all over the world who, many of whom are starving. In fact, in our own country, who are going to bed hungry. And, perhaps you might be a little more grateful of the food that's on your plate. And, of course, my kids grumble about me being a quote-unquote pastor instead of just a regular dad. But I think my parents did the same thing to me. I remember my mom telling me how difficult it was for her growing up in the Great Depression in this country, and how, I had so many things growing up that she did not. That for Christmas she only had one gift growing up, and she had to walk to school. That old joke about, I had to walk to school uphill both ways, things like that. But we always I think that's a kind of generational thing, that we always kind of have it better than our parents did maybe. And gratitude for what we have is something we try to teach our kids. It's an important lesson, I think. And Paul wants to teach that to Timothy too. He says in verse 6, "For we brought nothing into the world, so that we can take nothing out of it. But if we have food and clothing, we will be content with these." We all know that gratitude and being content with what we have is important, and yet how often do we spoil and coddle our kids? How often do we model the exact opposite behavior, that nothing is ever enough? As Paul writes, "But those who want to be rich fall into temptation and are trapped by many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and in their eagerness to be rich, some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pains." It's helpful to remember, think about our parents and grandparents, the things they had, and to remember, be reminded of and be cognizant of how much more we do have than generations past. And instead of always clamoring for more, to remember the lessons that we're taught in childhood, to be grateful, to say thank you, to be content with what we have. To remember a prayer by the great medieval mystic Meister Eckhart, who said, if the only prayer we ever prayed was thank you, that would be enough. Amen.